You've said that liberalism leads to communism. I think you said that, and maybe totalitarianism, but I think you literally said
No, it's
communism.
literally communism.
And this has got you in a bit of trouble with the old classical liberals. They're not so keen. Can you explain that to us? I was looking for your videos on that, but I haven't actually found them. Maybe you can I get it straight from you.
Yeah. So the reason that communism haunts liberalism is because they both operate on the same promise. One thing that liberalism promises is a return to what it conceives of being the original human state, right? Which is humanity living with a perfect set of rights that are endowed by nature, and these things are lost when you enter into a society. And early liberal thinkers, I mean, you begin with like Thomas Hobbes, who says, well, you just give them all up. You don't have any rights, but that's the price you pay for security. Then you had John Locke, who said, well, no, if we're making the state, we can make it so we give up some of our rights, but in exchange for security over this domain, but the rest we've got free. And then you end up with Rousseau saying, well, no, you give up all of your rights, but in exchange you get given a suite of rights, which are called civil rights, not natural rights, by the state. And therefore, and that's where you end up with sort of positive right to broadband or food or housing and, things that actually are outside of the human being. And so this line of thought has kind of incrementally and chronologically developed. And communism is just an extension of that line of thought, because the problem the liberal has is they say, well, look, we came into society to protect our property because, of course, in the state of nature, the property is insecure, and you have complete freedom and complete equality. And that's a good reason to have the state. And the liberal says, yeah, so we're going to have the state that protects our property. We're going to give up some rights, for example, the right to plunder someone else's property in exchange for the protection of our property. But then if you get to the Rousseauian position where we're exchanging our rights for the rights of someone else so we can better live in this state of nature, the communist says, yeah, but in the state of nature you don't have property. And if you're trying to get back to the state of nature, so everyone's equally free and equally equal, then you have to give up the property as well. And that's true. Okay. And the liberal says, I do want equality and I do want freedom, and the very root of inequality is property. So the liberal is already committed to the premise that the communist is just advancing towards them, because the liberal has made this argument. It's like, no, we should all have the same. We should all be the same. And we should all be equally free. And the communist says, well, why did you stop with bourgeois freedom? Because the bourgeoisie will be able to own the property, but the proletariat won't own the property. And so you're creating an inequality. So it's inevitable that the proletariat will eventually overthrow the bourgeoisie in order to get rid of everyone's property. So we return to that position of being equally free and completely equal.
Okay, and so this is why liberalism ends in communism. Has liberalism and liberals now sort of given up? Maybe I've misunderstood, but have they given up the freedom part for the equality part? Aren't these two fundamentally at odds? Because if you have, because we're all supposed to want equality now, but actually that you force people, as you pretty much said, that you force people to equality doesn't exist. It's a myth. So you have to enforce it, and therefore that takes away the freedom part. And if you have freedom, you'll have inequality, because some people are better at things, some people have more, etc., just on a basic level. So is that the inherent tension there? Yeah,
and the problem that liberalism has is in the thought experiment of the state of nature, it harmonizes the concepts of freedom and equality. So if you're on your own, living in the woods, you are maximally free, and you're also maximally equal, because to become unequal, you'd have to be able to accumulate, because people are all basically the same. There's no significant difference in human capacity. And so without the ability to accumulate and form relationships in which you have like masters and servants, there is no inequality, because it's just men running around the woods. Now, this position never existed, but once you create this idea, you have a position in which the tension that would normally exist between freedom and equality doesn't. They've abolished that. But the problem is you can't get back to that without also abolishing things that are good, such as property ownership. If you can accumulate, you won't be free. And as you said, if you're going to be equal, then there's no freedom to be had. So you're stuck in this position where liberalism is trying to achieve something that never existed and can't happen without us sacrificing all of the good things that we have. And the communists aren't challenging this premise at all. At no point does Karl Marx or Engels say, well, I think actually that was kind of nonsense, don't you? They go, no, that was exactly right, and you're not doing the job. You've betrayed the revolution, is their argument.